Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about how I knew that Martell was not going to marry Arionne. So Martell was on the nightcap with Dr. Heavenly and Carlos King, and Dr. Heavenly basically was talking about how she heard Arionne being referred to as coleslaw before anything else, so she didn't know that was what her real name was. And Martell was kind of correcting her. He was saying that it was disrespectful to call her that. She's the mother of his child, right? What's interesting is Martell never defended Melody in that regard. He never defended Melody like that in public. Okay, but then Dr. Heavenly asks, okay, so since you're defending her so much, are you going to marry this girl? Because the issue must be me calling her coleslaw, not you disrespecting her like she's coleslaw. Because the reason why people were calling Arionne coleslaw is because of Funky Dineva's analogy that Martell was going to treat Arionne like the side dish, like the coleslaw, like the thing that you enjoy eating when you don't have it, but when you have it all to yourself, that's all you have to eat. You don't really enjoy it as much. That is why people started calling Arionne coleslaw. Martell was more concerned about that particular moniker as opposed to the way he actually treated her, which is why she would be referred to as coleslaw in the first place. So anyway, Martell said, oh, no, absolutely not. And that hurt me. As a woman, that hurt me. That did not make me feel good for Arionne. Yes, she deserves what she gets for dealing with a married man and basically tag teaming his wife and being an accomplice to the crime of trying to destroy the mother of his children and his wife. She was a part of that for years. She enjoyed it. She reveled in that. Arionne enjoyed the prospect of abusing and destroying another woman over a man who wanted her, right, for sex. She enjoyed this. But as a human being, I still feel bad for her because I know how much she loves him still. She was willing to be played for 7 years, right? And now she goes from being his girlfriend. I mentioned this before. I have to keep repeating myself. I guess so. Before I mentioned that Martell downgraded Arionne from being his girlfriend when he was married to being his side piece when he's divorced. And now that's my homie. You were willing to destroy your empire for your homie? And this is why Melody does not respect Martell. It's not just about the cheating. It's about his caliber as a man, his qualities as a man. His priorities are fucked up. How can you destroy a marriage of over a decade with 4 children and several businesses for somebody you don't even want to be with? And why doesn't Martell want to be with Arionne? As I mentioned on my other channel before, men have preferences for wives and they have preferences for girlfriends. 2 different categories of women. Women who think that because they have a big booty and they're pretty and they have long hair that they're automatically wife material. No. Sometimes a man knows exactly who he wants as a wife, and it's not that. It's somebody who reminds him of his mother, usually. Or someone who makes him feel good or make him look good in public, in society. A status symbol. For Martell, he enjoys Melody as a status symbol. She made him look good to other people. She made him look like the man. She made him look like he had a builder's license. And he did not. She made him look like a legitimate entrepreneur. Arionne makes Martell look like a fool. Men don't want to cuff women. Usually, they don't cuff women. Okay, I'll say this. Men who are very status oriented or image obsessed, right? And they're concerned about public reputation and how people perceive them, especially as a Capricorn. Martell's a Capricorn on top of that. Martell is very image conscious. He doesn't want to be represented by someone who's ratchet. Even though he is ratchet, he does not want to be represented by someone who's ratchet. He wants his wife to be a Cancerian type woman, a woman who is motherly and nurturing and warm and beautiful, who makes him look good, but who also knows her place. Melody was the best that Martell could do. She's actually the best that a lot of men can do. Melody was like almost the entire package. I say almost because nobody's perfect. But Melody was almost the entire package for Martell. Beautiful, nurturing, fertile, 4 kids with the super duper snapback, ambitious, hardworking, a team player, all this stuff. There was no way he was going to marry Arionne if he was married to someone like Melody. Arionne does not have those other qualifications. And Martell knew this, which is why he prolonged the affair. He didn't get divorced from Melody after year 1 or 2 or 3. Melody actually had to file for divorce. He was never going to leave his wife, like many married men do. Most married men don't leave their wives because their wife is their preference for a wife. The side piece is a preference for a girlfriend. Now, sometimes it changes and the man wants, to upgrade. Once he gets more money, he looks better. Once the wife has upgraded him, sometimes the men want to have a version of a woman that represents their new image and a new status in society after the first wife cleaned him up. That happens sometimes too. But when it comes to Martell, he was kind of in an effed up situation because there's very few women who can compare with Melody when it comes to a lot of things. Right? Yes, Melody has her flaws like everybody else does. Nobody's perfect, okay? But she's a beautiful woman, naturally beautiful woman, loves children, nurturing, cooks, cleans up the house, is ambitious, is hardworking, does not want handouts, right? She's a team player, a team sport, and she loved Martell enough to protect him from his own stupidity to the detriment of her sanity and her self-esteem and her self-respect. She let him play her for a fool out of love for him and loyalty to him. And she said this herself. Right? But whatever she gave to Martell, she was strong enough to take back. And that is what Martell is missing. He is missing everything that Melody invested in him. It wasn't just the image. It was her energy. Melody has a very contagious energy and people want to be associated with her. She has a very powerful presence. Imagine being a man who is insecure and you have managed to seduce and get a woman of Melody's caliber to fall in love with you. You had no teeth, a receding hairline, and no money, per Melody's words. You had all these things going against you. You managed to capture this diamond in the rough. And you fucked that up for somebody you don't even want to marry. That's not even your girlfriend. That is I'm dismissing her. But you got to respect her. Don't call her coleslaw, even though I called her a peasant. Martell treated Arionne like she was a peasant from day one. And he going to apologize like he meant something different. No, he meant what he said. That's why he treated her the way that he does. He's never publicly claimed her. He's never said that that's my woman. I'm happy to be with her. I'm in love with her. The only time he acknowledges Arionne is to hurt Melody or to compete with Melody, which is why they went out on this date, a few weeks ago to a concert. How quickly things change, okay? After Hill Harper basically told Melody that he loved her on live, and it was like a friendly thing, Martell wanted to compete and say, yeah, I'm with somebody too. His whole entire existence revolves around Melody. Now he wants his family back. I try to be patient, right? And I try to be a good person. But if a man who deliberately dogged me out for several years and disrespected me, forcing me to lose everything that I've worked for, to leave everything I've worked for, that I've built, because of his indiscretions and his arrogance about those indiscretions, if a man was forcing me to do this and then he came back years later saying I want my family back, I would really try my hardest not to punch him in the face, or at the very least, not to verbally assault him to the point where his self-esteem is on the floor, is in the garbage. I would be so infuriated at the audacity for somebody who deliberately destroyed everything that I built, that we built together, for somebody you don't really want to come back to me and say, I want my family back. That would make me lose my temper. It would. Because it's the audacity. It's the fact that you actually think you deserve me at this point to even come at me with this BS. You're not even supposed to be in my space, in my face at all. So for you to think you would have the opportunity to do to me what you did to me before, it's insane. Especially since I didn't, harm you or destroy you the way that I could have the first time around. I let you go off easy. I let you slide and do what you want to do. But now you want to come back slithering and sliding after you complained about me for years to justify abusing me, to want to come back and act as if I want my family back. I hope Martell is not stupid enough to tell Melody this. I really hope he is not audacious and arrogant enough to tell Melody this after he intentionally tried to destroy her for months, for years, depriving her of resources, right? Depriving her of peace of mind, okay? Allowing his mistress, who he got pregnant while she was, while they were married, 3 months after they had their third child, after they had their fourth child, allowing this woman to disrespect me on all these platforms. You never check her publicly, but you're disrespecting me. Now you want to slither back because I left your balls intact. I left your balls intact the first time. So now you think you can come back to me because I didn't destroy you and rip your head off the way I was supposed to the first time. So what happens is with these men, right? When these men are not destroyed by the women that they hurt, they try to come back. They try to come back. When women are too peaceful and too loving and forgiving to men who have tried to destroy them, the men years later re-idealize the women. And then they say, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, it wasn't that bad because the woman didn't cut your head off the way she was supposed to. The woman let you go. So the men who were complaining the most about the wives, it's ironic that they want to come back to the thing that they were complaining about. I knew Martell was not going to marry Arionne, or did not want to be with her, because he prolonged the divorce. He kept delaying it. Melody gave him many opportunities to leave. If you want to go, then go. Melody's not the type of woman to hold on to a man who don't want her. And Melody kept asking Martell, if you want to be with her, then go be with her. Martell kept saying, no, she's filling a void. I'm getting attention from her, not you. Okay, so get your attention full time, because I'm too much of a boss and a mommy to babysit a grown-ass man. So be with her then. But Martell refused to do so. That's how I knew initially that he did not want to be with her. As a matter of fact, before the show even started, Martell and Melody were separated. So Martell had the opportunity to be with Arionne full time before the show even started. And guess what? He crawled back to his wife and offered the show as a gesture of reconciliation, right? To say, we can start anew. Let's start over again. We can use the show as an opportunity to help other couples heal and learn from infidelity in relationships. That is what the angle was. And I think Melody talked about this. We can use this show to talk about how he and I came back from the brink of divorce by, counseling and working together and things like that. They both talked about this. But Martell wanted his wife back before the show even started, which means that he had the opportunity to be with Arionne full time, and he still chose his wife. I knew then he did not want to be with Arionne full time, and Arionne should have known by back then that if a man has an opportunity to be with you and his wife leaves you and you're with him full time and then he goes back to his wife, it means that he wants to be with her more. You're just a placeholder. And now you're a placeholder with a baby, unfortunately. And that's why I feel bad for her, because she deceived herself. She threw herself away for the sake of holding on to a man who would never see her as his preference. It doesn't matter what she does. She's not Melody. That's how men are. Not all men, but that's how a lot of men are. A man could have a bevy of options, all these beautiful, lovely women. And if they're not his preference for a wife, he's going to use them all and dog them out. These are great women. They cook and clean, got nice bodies, nice faces, everything. But they're not the one that's etched into his heart. They're not the symbol of whatever that wife is. A Claire Huxtable type woman. That's what Martell wants. He doesn't want, love and hip hop wife. He wants Claire Huxtable as a wife. Period. He had all that. He had all that. He took it for granted because he didn't work for it. Really, Melody worked for that situation. And Martell did do his part as far as him being a present and available father, him not abandoning the kids, him helping with the kids to some extent. We can admit that because Melody admitted it too, right? They were good parents together. But because of Martell's insecurities and his need to be the boss, right, and his ego, he destroyed the very thing that he valued the most because he felt like he didn't deserve it. I mentioned before also that Arionne reminds Martell of who he was in the past. She's comfortable for him. She's like home cooked food, right? But if the home cooked food is filled with salt and fat and sugar, you're going to be sick from the home cooked food. It tastes good and it's familiar to you, but it doesn't make you better. It makes you sicker, but it makes you feel good. But ultimately, your health is deteriorating because of the nasty diet or the unhealthy diet, right? So Arionne reminds Martell where he came from, the streets, the hood, whatever. Melody reminded Martell of who he could be. She was more of an aspiration for him, right? She was goals, okay? Men want to be inspired by the woman that they married. Yes, they're comfortable with sleeping with the woman that they grew up with, the hood girl, whatever, but they want to be with someone who projects them into the future, not someone who tethers them to the past, especially if their past was abusive and painful. Especially then. Now, if he had a good upbringing and good childhood, like Russell Wilson, then yeah, that could work out if he was raised in a good family. But if he had a broken childhood and upbringing and a broken home, whoever he's comfortable with is going to remind him of that, but he doesn't want to stay there. Arionne is where you want to visit, but you don't want to live with her, right? You want to go back to the hood once in a while to see your friends and family and the old schools you've been to, but you don't want to go back to live there because there's poverty there, there's crime there, there's lack there. You want to be in the zip code that Melody is in. You want to be Mr. and Mrs. Power couple, right? Magazine covers, TV shows, interviews, okay? All this stuff that was happening when he was with Melody, Arionne can't bring him to that. But he was comfortable with Arionne because he felt like that is who he deserved. Somebody who can't give him anything or do anything for him because that's how he was raised. She's familiar to him. But that's painful familiarity. That's not pleasant familiarity. So when you have painful familiarity and there's South Node aspects, I'm going to discuss this later on this week with Martell and Arionne's charts. When you have painful aspects in relationships, the South Node and Saturn and things like that, yeah, you're familiar, you're stuck to the person, but it's like a painful, I'm here, I love you, but I can't stand you kind of thing. I can't live with you and I can't live without you kind of toxic situation. He's stuck to her because she's familiar to him. She makes him feel safe. But that safety is like being in a cocoon of thorns. You're safe in the hood because you're familiar, but at the same time is a bunch of drama on every corner. But the people know you, you're familiar. So they're going to protect you, but it's still, the environment is toxic. It's not conducive to positive growth and development. So Melody represented who he wanted to be, where he wanted to be. But because he didn't feel like he deserved to be there, he sabotaged that opportunity. He started to question his worth and value to her. So he did something to force Melody to push him away because that's kind of how he felt about himself. I'm not good enough for you. Even though his words were, I'm doing all of this stuff and I'm the man of the house. You're supposed to serve me. You're supposed to submit to me. You're supposed to satisfy me. That was inversion. He did not mean that. What he meant was, I'm insecure because I'm seeing you elevate more and more in your career. And in order for me to feel better about myself, I need you to suck my penis to prove that you're loyal to me as a symbolic gesture of submission and loyalty to your man. Because I feel like you're leaving me behind. That's what he really wanted to say. But because he was competing with Melody, he didn't want her to, look down on him, right? He made it into a competition. You're not sucking my meat. You're not letting me be the man. I'm going to find someone to make me feel like a man. So I'm going to weaponize this woman against you to make me feel better about myself, to force you into a subjugated position. That's what Martell was doing. And that's how I knew, again, he was not going to marry Arionne, because he can't do that with Arionne. He cannot use Arionne as a status symbol against other women. He can't. I'm sorry. She does not make him look good. She's a pretty girl. Okay, there are plenty of pretty girls in Huntsville and Atlanta. They're all over the place in Atlanta. Pretty girls with money and body. So, at a certain point, a marriage-minded man does not care about those things. He wants his Claire Huxtable. In Martell's case, some people want an Amber Rose for a wife. That doesn't work out too well. Some people may want a Black China for a wife. Some people may want a Kiki for a wife, whatever. It is not a big deal. We all have different preferences. But Martell's preference for a wife is not Arionne. They are complete opposites. They're polar opposites of women. One represents his past and one represents the future that he wants he wanted to be projected into by way of Melody. That's it. And they're in a small town, so these things are important, right? Status symbols are important. Melody's an AKA. She has lots of clout in the community. She's a status symbol. Anybody that Martell gets with will be compared to Melody or compared with Melody by default. So Martell knows that Arionne cannot do that. If Martell were to bring Arionne out and about to, certain events, and I mentioned this before, she can't hang in certain rooms. Melody is bilingual. She speaks the language of business, the language of profession, and love. Not just relationships. Arionne is just about relationships and, pleasing a man in the bedroom. Martell, as a Capricorn, does not just want that. He wants somebody that he can use as a trophy. And that's just it. It's not really fair to Arionne, but she brought this on to herself. Yes, Martell deceived her. He told her everything that she wanted to hear to keep her emotionally invested in the situation. And there were genuine feelings there. But those genuine feelings, as I tell some of my clients, that's a trap. That's a karmic trap. Martell attracted a version of himself. He attracted his shadow. Arionne is Martell's shadow. So when he was looking for an opportunity to cheat on Melody, right, he attracted someone that was vibrating at his frequency. Arionne resonated on Martell's frequency perfectly. Very low vibrational, lust, betrayal, sadism, cruelty. That is this frequency they both were vibrating on. Martell was using Arionne to hurt Melody, and Arionne wanted to be used to hurt Melody. They were two peas in the same pod. Because Melody's frequency was changing, she was resonating on a different level because of her status and what she was doing in her career and how she was elevating and self-actualizing. She no longer resonated with Martell on that level, and Martell wanted to find somebody that was on his level. So he found Arionne, and the rest is history. He don't like himself, so why would he like her long term? It's as simple as that. So yeah, to cap it out, I feel bad for Arionne. I do, as a human being and a woman, but she deserves this. This is her bitter medicine. This is Neptune in the 7th house. Throwing yourself away for the sake of relationships and then finding out, oh my God, who the hell did I get in bed with? This is a monster. I've ruined my life for a monster. I've destroyed myself for a monster. But guess what? That is your fault because you are projecting your fantasies onto that monster. That's Neptune. Neptune. I want to be with a man who will hurt other women for my benefit. That is maybe what Arionne wanted in her life. She wanted someone to fight for her, to hurt other women, to prove their loyalty to her. That's a projection. That's Neptune. So she found someone who did that for her. She found someone who was willing to disrespect his wife for her. And she helped to do it happily. She was happy, giddy to do so. And now she has to deal with the consequences of her actions, which is now being a single mother of 2 children. I think Arionne's first child, Paris, like 10 years old, 8 years, Paris would have been in college. Arionne would have been like 38 years old, 39, 38. She could have had a whole new situation, new lease on life at 40. Could have been done with raising kids. Still looking good. No extra baby, no drama from Martell, none of that. She created this karma for herself. By trying to destroy somebody else, she destroyed herself. That is how it always works. Always. When you dig a grave for somebody, you're digging one for yourself too. When you point the finger at somebody, 3 fingers are pointing back at you, right? It's these are old analogies and old idioms that people used to say to teach people lessons about how to treat others. So yeah, I'm not surprised. It's sad for Arionne, but there are a lot of married women who have met Arionnes and they're happy about this. They're happy. They feel vindicated. And I said this before. Arionne was only valuable because Martell was married to Melody. Once Melody divorced Martell, Arionne lost her value. Her only value was being able to be weaponized against Melody, to get Melody to do what Martell wanted, to make Melody feel insecure. That was her only value. to Martell? How can I use this woman to get Melody's attention? How can I use this woman to hurt Melody, to make her feel the way that she's making me feel? Not intentionally, but by way of her being, the boss in the relationship. How can I use this woman to make Melody submit to me? And now that Melody divorced Martell, that is gone. There's no reason for her to be there. Except out of habit and obligation and some sort of guilt, maybe, and comfort. You've been here, so I'll keep seeing you. Martell, as a Capricorn, he likes creature comforts. He's like a creature of habit. He does things over and over again. He likes family and home and things that are consistent. So he's going to stay with Arionne, she'll be in his life because she's been there, but not in any sort of serious capacity romantically. He's not going to claim her like that because she's no longer useful as a weapon against Melody. Melody, she basically pulled herself out of that triangulation and allowed the two wolves to devour each other. Now Martell and Arionne are going to inflict karma on each other and not on Melody. As long as Melody was married to Martell, she had to deal with his karma and his BS. Once she divorced Martell and pulled herself out of that situation energetically, she forced Martell and Arionne to now attack each other with their own weapons. Because you can't attack Melody anymore, but you still have the weapons in your hand. Who do you want to attack? Oh, each other. Now there's back and forth online. I think Arionne complained about Martell not defending her. That is absolute crap. Martell has apologized to Arionne publicly more than he has to Melody. Martell has allowed Arionne to say the most disgusting things about Melody and did not check her for it publicly. But he has checked people for calling Arionne coleslaw. He has openly and publicly disrespected Melody on Arionne's behalf, or for Arionne, to the benefit of Arionne. Absolutely. So for her to complain about this, she's just mad that it is what it is. And she can't say that Martell deceived her. He did, but Martell can say, I didn't divorce my wife for 5 years. If it wasn't for you, I would still be married. Martell even said it. If it wasn't for the TV show, I would still be married. He didn't say, I'm thankful for the TV show for allowing me to be with Arionne, who I love so much. He didn't say that. He said, if it wasn't for the show, I would still be with my wife. He didn't say, if it wasn't for the show, I would still be with Arionne. That's not what he wanted, because that's not his preference for a wife. These girls need to stop playing up certain things about themselves, their looks and their hair and their beauty or whatever the case may be. At some point, men get sick of that. They do. They'll stay stuck to you because of the karma and the feelings and the planets fucking with you to force you to learn certain lessons. But at the end of the day, they know who they want to marry. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there. I'm sure there's something I forgot. And if I remember, I'm going to upload it into the commentary. I appreciate you guys' feedback. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. I will speak to you soon.